We're the neighborhood naturalists. Let's learn together. We're the neighborhood naturalists. Let's wander together about what's going on around our homes.
Welcome to week 7 of Neighborhood Naturalists. This week's theme is invasive species. Invasive species are plants or animals that are from other parts of the world that cause negative impacts to our ecosystems. They adapt very easily, are good at finding food or nutrients, and don't have many natural predators. For this week's episode, we're going to focus on some invasive plants in the Lake Simcoe watershed.
We've got garlic mustard growing in our backyard. It's an invasive species. Garlic mustard seeds that land on the ground can sprout up to 30 years later. One way to check if it's garlic mustard is to pull it, crush it up, and then smell it. You can even eat it.
There's another common garden plant that can spread very quickly if we're not careful. This one is called lily of the valley. Lilies of the valley are quite striking plants. They have nodding white flowers with crimped edges that look like little white bells as they blow in the wind. The problem is they can be quite aggressive and they spread quickly. They'll grow in very dense patches that can sometimes choke out other plants. It also often spreads outside of gardens. Since all this lily of the valley has jumped out of my garden, it's time for me to take action and I'm gonna pull it. Pulling all this lily of the valley will help, but if I want to effectively remove the entire patch, I'll have to keep at it for a few years. I'll have to make sure I pull every single year in the spring to prevent the flower from continuing to spread. Whew. That was hard work. Lily of the valley is a great plant to have in your garden, but it's important that we don't let it spread to our natural spaces. If you have a garden and you want to have lily of the valley, that's okay. Just make sure to be a responsible gardener and remove it if it spreads outside of your garden.
Our next invasive species is lesser celandine, also known as fig buttercup.
It has green, heart-shaped leaves with bright yellow flowers. Each flower has between 8 to 12 petals attached to it. Each flower holds up to 70 seeds, but it also has tuberous roots which can propagate into several other plants as well. It emerges and blooms in early spring, creating a huge mat or umbrella with its leaves, blocking sunlight from reaching the ground and other spring ephemerals like trilliums, trout lilies, or violets. This is really what makes it so effective at overpowering other plants and taking over ecosystems. It will die off by midsummer, but by that point the damage has been done.
Hi there, my name's Lauren and I'm the Land Management Technician with the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. Part of my role is to help us manage our conservation area lands. These lands are threatened currently by invasive plant species. The two that I am most concerned about are dog strangling vine and Phragmites. Both of these species spread really rapidly and can have really negative impacts on the ecological integrity of these areas. We try to monitor our areas every 3 years to try to find these invasive plant species so we can either control or eradicate them before they spread and become a big issue. You can help us do this by stopping the spread of invasive species. At the entrance to some of our conservation areas, we have boot brushes. And if you rub the bottom of your shoe along these boot brushes, it helps to remove any seeds that you might have picked up at other conservation areas and stop the spread of them into a new conservation area.
This week's challenge is spot them, and if you can, stop them and replace them. You can use the Seek app to help you identify if you have any invasive plants. For things like garlic mustard, periwinkle, and lily of the valley, you can dig them up and remove them. When choosing plants for gardens, try to pick ones that are native to your area. Native plants are adapted to our environment and don't need a lot of extra care, and are better sources of food for our pollinator friends like bees and butterflies.